Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. In today's video, I'm going to go back and talk about my 100 favorite movies of all time list. This time we're in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Yeah, we're getting to the absolute cream of the crop here. So I'm going to go 10 through number 6 on this list. And yeah, if you know me, these are, well, some of these you might not know, but some of these, if you hear me talk about these movies, you know these are some of my favorite. Yeah, I don't know what much more to say, but let's get into my list here on Jason the Old Millennial. Hello everybody, hope everybody's doing well on this Thursday evening. I hope you guys had a better day than me. I had a horrible day, like one of the worst days. I got stuck again in the snow. It took me about an hour, but I finally got unstuck, luckily, and I thought, man, I'm stuck for good. And just the snow is just killing me. It's just killing me. I've shoveled so much snow, and I feel like I haven't gotten anywhere. And it should be snowing right now. I think it should be snowing outside right now again. Hopefully not heavy snow like it did last Sunday, because I can't deal with the snow again. It's just so hard getting around right now anyways. But hopefully you guys are doing better than me. But let's get to, my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Hopefully some of you are interested. What is Jason's favorite movies? And some of these I've probably talked about before. Some of these maybe don't know as much. But let's get to number 10. My 10th favorite movie of all time. At this point, it's an old classic. It is Ben-Hur. From 1959. Starring Charlton Heston as the main character, Ben-Hur. Directed by the great William Wyler, one of my favorite directors of all time. And Charlton Heston, one of my favorite actors of all time. This was a huge movie when it came out in 1959. As you can see, the little Oscar there. It was the first movie to win 11 Oscars. So it ties with two other movies for 11 Oscars, which is Titanic and Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. The only three movies to ever win 11 Oscars. So yeah, huge, favorite at the Academy and critics. Also made a lot of money. It was one of the biggest box office movies of the 1950s period. Probably maybe the biggest box office movie of the 1950s. And I want to say it's probably the biggest box office movie up till 1965 when Sound of Music probably broke the record there. But yeah, it was a huge fan favorite. Huge with critics, with award shows. Yeah, and I feel like it doesn't get enough recognition today. People don't talk about this as much today as they used to. We watched this a lot in my household growing up. My parents loved this movie. I'd probably watch this like at least once a year growing up, because I would probably say if my mom and dad were to say what is their favorite movie of all time, it very well may be Ben-Hur. I would not be surprised if they both said Ben-Hur is their favorite movie of all time. They were huge fans of that movie. And of course, it was on TV. It feels like every year it was on TV or whatever. And I would always catch on TV. And I always had a good time with it as a kid. I don't think I appreciate it as much as I do now. But I do remember quite enjoying it as a kid. So many great moments in it. But it's one of those movies that wasn't in my top 10 favorite movies for most of my life. It's just when I was making this, I decided to put it in my top 10 because I just couldn't resist how epic, how amazing everything is about this movie. The sets, the musical score is amazing. The sets are just absolutely amazing with all the tons and tons of extras. And it tells this really cool story of this guy, Ben-Hur, played by Charlton Heston, who is a wealthy Jewish, you call him prince, I think, or something like that, in Israel. And it's about his best friend is a Roman legion, whatever, ruler. And he's trying to rule the Jewish people. And he wants his friend Ben-Hur, they used to be best friends when they grew up, wants him to help him. And of course, he's like, well, I'm not going to betray the Jewish people, my people, you know. And so Marcellus is his friend. That's a Roman soldier, centurion. I think he's like a Roman centurion. And something happens, and he gets blamed for something he didn't do, and he goes to jail for it. And he gets, you know, because his friend, who turns into his enemy, you know, is mad at him for not helping him out. He kind of throws a book at him, and he makes him a slave. And he's working in these Roman ship, rowing. And I love those sequences where they're all rowing. There's all these, you know, all these shirtless men, and they're just sweating like crazy. And oh my gosh, I can't imagine how terrible that would be, having to row constantly, this huge boats, you know, and they go to war and stuff like that. And those moments, that whole scenes are so great, and how he gets out of that situation. And before I go any further, it's also so cool that, and the probably reason why my parents love the movie, why I've loved the movie for so long, is that it's done during the time of Christ. We do see scenes of Jesus as well, though we never see Jesus' face, which was always a cool aspect of the movie. Is like, so much times we have movies where we have Jesus in the story. Of course, you see Jesus' face. He's the actor has to play Jesus. Here we get an actor playing Jesus, but we never see his face. So I always leave that mystique because of like, you know, we don't really want to know what Jesus looks like, because we don't know what Jesus looks like, you know, and we don't want to pretend to know what Jesus looks like, you know, because we don't want to worship a false idol. Anyways, and so I like that aspect of it. And during the story, Jesus comes into the life of Ben-Hur during certain parts of his life, saves his life at one point when he's thirsting to death. That's such a great moment. One of my favorite moments, when the Roman guard wants to go hit Jesus, and he stops, and he's just like, I can't hit him. And he doesn't know why, and he looks confused, and he's like walking away, and he looks back like what just happened? Why can't I hit this guy? And it's because he's Jesus, and he doesn't know that. But anyways, so many amazing moments like that. And then he has kind of this story arc where he actually becomes, kind of gets adopted by this Roman officer who he saves his life. And so then now he's wealthy again, but now he's living in Rome, and he wants to go back home and see what happened to his family. And then he finds out that, you know, his mom and sister are in a leper colony. They got leprosy, and so it's very sad. And all this, and then of course he wants revenge. The whole movie is like he wants revenge against Marcellus for ruining him and his family, and he wants to kill him. And then of course we get the whole chariot scene. I mean, you can't talk about this movie without talking about one of the greatest scenes of all time, the chariot race, because it's a real chariot race. There's no CGI. It's 6 like chariots and horses and real people driving these chariots. It's absolutely amazing to watch and go, wow, how did they shoot this scene? It is absolutely incredible, exciting, all this. And yeah, even after that scene, Ben-Hur wants revenge against the Roman Empire. And he's, you know, revenge is going to destroy him probably, but he's just out to get revenge. And then at that time, we see the crucifixion of Christ, which is one of the most emotional scenes I've ever seen in a movie. I cry every time I see that scene. I mean, it's such a great depiction of what Jesus went through, dying on the cross for our sins. And there's a whole scene about that, you know, and Ben-Hur's like, why did they kill him? This guy he saved my life. He's been such a, you know, nice person, you know. And they said, you know, he's sacrificing his life for the sins of all of us. And Ben-Hur just like confused, like, why would he give his life, you know, when he didn't do nothing wrong, you know? And so through that, he learns forgiveness. And ultimately the movie is about forgiveness and not trying to get revenge, not being hateful. And so he stops his hate for the Roman Empire, stops his revenge quest, you know. And I won't say what happens at the end, but it's a very happy ending. And overall, man, just an amazing, epic, one of the most epic movies of all time. Great performance. Charlton Heston won Best Actor Oscar, of course, Best Picture, obviously, director and all that. But yeah, the criticism of this movie I know is that it's a 3.5-hour movie. It's a very long movie. It could have been shorter. I agree. When I watch it, I think, yeah, it'd been nice if it was only a 3-hour movie, but I still love it. All 3.5 hours, I'm still intrigued. I'm still invested in the movie. I've seen this so many times, and I still don't get, you know, bored with the runtime. And I want to say, man, don't let the 3.5 hours take you from not watching this movie. I say, give it a chance. There's so many iconic moments, and just a great story overall, and great ending, you know, a lot of dramatic emotion in it. Yeah, that's why it had to be my top 10. Just one of the most great epic movies that deals with Christ too. So I love that too. So anyways, Been-Hur at number 10 on my list. Number 9, I've got Apollo 13. Yeah, Apollo 13 also came out in 1995. I talked about earlier. 1995, I think, is the best year in movies ever because I already talked about having Mr. Holland's Opus on my list. I already talked about, which is pretty high. I'm trying to look at where number 11. Mr. Holland's Opus, number 11, came out in 95, and also Braveheart, number 12 on the list, came out in 95. So you have Braveheart, Mr. Holland's Opus, and Apollo 13 all in my 12 to 9 range. So pretty good. 3 just movies that are some of my favorite movies of all time came out that year. Not to mention Toy Story came out that year, which I forget where I put that, but that was in my list as well. Toy Story is an incredible movie. And there might have been some more I'm not thinking about, but yeah, that's what I love. But yeah, this is, I don't think I have any more from 95. I think this is the top movie I guess I have from that year. But yeah, Apollo 13, what an incredible movie by Ron Howard. Incredible cast. I mean, you got Tom Hanks, give another great performance. You got Kevin Bacon there, Bill Paxton, Gary Sinise, Ed Harris. I mean, just absolutely incredible actors, portraying a real life event of the Apollo 13 mission where they're going to land on the moon, but then something goes wrong, and then they're just trying to get home. And we see it from the perspective of the 3 astronauts trying to figure out how to fix the problem that's going on, trying to survive. And then I love the NASA, just seeing NASA, how NASA kind of works with Ed Harris in charge and being like, failure is not an option. We are going to get these 3 guys home, and it's going to be the greatest moment in NASA that we're able to do the impossible and get these 3 home, and we're not going to give up until it happens. And then seeing all the different NASA people working together and problem solving, and there's so much good problem solving in this movie. Actually, that's why I love the movie, because it's like, all right, here's the problem. We're going to die in like 10 minutes if we don't solve this problem. And they're like, oh, let's work on it. All right, here comes the plan, and here comes how we're going to do it. And then they do it, and they're like, all right, we bought some more time that we're going to survive until the next bad thing happens, and we're going to do more problem solving. Love that. I mean, just incredible. And a lot of great supporting or character actors playing the NASA crew, or working at the base, NASA, whatever, in Houston. So many great character actors. I'm like, oh, I know that guy from this. I know that guy from this. They all do such a good job. And then you also see the family, how it's affecting the family. Of course, who's devastated that their loved ones are up in space and might not come home. Great look at all that. I saw this in the movie theater, and man, I was blown away when I saw this in the movie theater. Loved it then, still love it now. Every time I see it, again, that ending, oh my gosh, I always talk about great endings, another absolutely amazing ending. Spoiler alert, they survive in real life and they survive in the movie, but that scene where they're waiting for them to talk back to, that they made it back, and and James Horner score, great James Horner score here. The score, burst out, this big, celebration, and the NASA, everybody is cheering, and it's like, oh, like I'm gonna start crying now just thinking about it. It's just such a emotional moment of happiness. That's like, oh my gosh, they made it, after so many bad things happening to them. But yeah, it's just incredible story, the incredible true story that happened, that incredible that they survived this, and what a great look at. And also just, it's a cool look at space travel, and like just watching them get into the rocket, and the whole scenes where the rocket goes up, and again, great James Horner score as the rocket goes up. That's such a cool scene as well. And Tom Hanks, to me, should have won an Oscar for this. It's funny, he won 2 Oscars in a row. He won in '93 for Philadelphia, and then he won the next year for Forrest Gump. So he was winning 2 in a row, 2 Oscars in a row for Best Actor. And then he does Apollo 13 and gives another absolutely amazing performance. And to me, it's crazy that he didn't even get nominated for Best Actor. And to me, he should have got nominated and maybe even won. He was so good in this movie. So it's like, man, he almost, to me, should have won like 3 in a row. This was like Tom Hanks at his absolute best. I mean, this 90s period, he was just killing it acting-wise on all cylinders. But yeah, what can you say? A very emotional movie with some great acting performances. great moments that you give, also just kind of thrilling. You're on the, edge of your seat, like, oh my gosh, how are they going to get out of this situation? Yeah, I can't say enough about this movie. Loved it when I saw it in the theater. Still absolutely love it. Apollo 13. At number 9. Number 8. This is a movie I wasn't expecting to love it so much, but man, the more I watch it, the more it gets up my list, and that is Creed. Here at number 8 on my list. Yeah, Creed, the first movie in kind of a new trilogy, the Creed trilogy, which is, of course, the same universe as the Rocky franchise. It's basically just another part of the Rocky franchise in a way. But yeah, starring Michael B. Jordan as Apollo Creed's son. I'm trying to think, what's his name in the movie? Yeah, anyways, it's something Creed. But you got Sylvester Stallone reprising his role as Rocky, one of the greatest characters of all time, one of my favorite characters in the favorite movies of all time, and giving a great performance. He got nominated for Best Supporting Actor, should have won, but probably because of political reasons, he didn't win the Oscar. He won like every other award, but really one of the best performances Sylvester Stallone ever gave, and portraying one of his most iconic character of all time, Rocky Balboa, as well. Adonis Creed, that's it. Sorry, Adonis Creed is Michael B. Jordan. But Michael B. Jordan, man, what a great performance. This is where I don't think I've ever seen Michael B. Jordan in a movie before. And I watch this movie, I'm like, I want to see Michael B. Jordan again. And anytime he's in a movie, I'm like, I'm going to watch this movie because I can't get enough of Michael B. Jordan. I mean, he's great in Black Panther. And anything I see him in, I'm like, man, this guy can act. And this is his best performance, in my opinion. He should have been nominated for Best Actor. This should have been nominated for Best Picture. It's crazy that this shouldn't got more nominations. Of course, Ryan Coogler, also great direction. Let's see more. I don't see much of him lately. He did Black Panther, which is good too. And I don't know. I don't see enough of him either. But man, what a good combination that is. And man, again, I just love the story, and I love the idea that they were able to continue the story of Rocky through this made up character that we never had before. The idea that Paul Creed had a son that no one knew about, and that he would go on to be a boxer, and he'd have this great story arc of trying to prove himself, because he never knew his dad. His dad died before, of course, his dad died in Rocky IV, so he never knew his dad because his dad died before when he was just born, or maybe before he was born. And yeah, I remember when this came out, and I was thinking, this is Creed. I thought it was just a cash grab. I remember thinking, oh, I'm not gonna watch this. This can't be any good. Like, what? They're gonna make a movie about Apollo Creed's son? Like, who cares about that? So I didn't think anything about this movie. And then I heard so much good reviews, and people were like, this is one of the best movies of the year. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I watched it, and I was blown away. I was like, holy cow, this story is so good. Besides, I said, the performances and everything. And I just love how this character, Adonis Creed, it's all about, trying to live up to his father. His father was one of the greatest boxers of all time. And he just can't get this off his, even though he has a good job, he doesn't need to be a boxer. He's just like, there's something he has to prove. He feels like he has to prove his worth, because he felt like he's an accident. His birth was an accident, because his mom wasn't married to Apollo Creed. And so I don't know, and the fact that his dad died, he never got to know his dad. And so he's almost not ashamed, I don't know, but he doesn't like to use his last name Creed, because he doesn't want anybody to think of him differently. He wants to be his own man in some senses. So I love how throughout the movie, he doesn't use the name Creed until the very end. And in the very end, he finally, what's the word? Accepts that name, Creed. And that's so good at the end when he has that final boxing match, and he has Rocky in his corner training. Rocky's kind of like Rocky was the young underdog boxer. Now he's and he had the Mickey, the old trainer. Now he's Mickey, he's the old trainer. And I love the relationship between. I guess one of the best things about this movie is the relationship between Rocky and Creed, and Adonis Creed. Oh my gosh, great father-son. They're not father and son, but they act like a father-son relation. And it's one of those things where Adonis Creed never really had a father, and now he has like a father figure in Sylvester and Rocky Balboa. And Rocky Balboa, we know he has a son throughout the other movies, but he has a strained relationship with his son. So him having this kind of father-son relationship with Adonis Creed also fulfills what his need of having a son to mentor. He's always wanted a son to mentor, and so this kind of to them they both need each other so much. And again, I'm about ready to cry just thinking about it. It's so emotional. And yeah, I just love that relationship that they both have with each other. And even him fighting through cancer, and oh my gosh, him feeling abandoned by him. So much great stuff. And just that last boxing scene, of course, one of my favorite scenes of all time is when he gets knocked out, and you think, oh man, how's he gonna, he's knocked out, and all of a sudden they show a montage of his life, and everything has happened to bring him to this moment, and then he kind of wakes up at the end of that and gets back up and beats the 10 count, and then he keeps boxing, and it's like, wow, what a great moment of him not giving up. And there's even this great moment where Rocky's like, why, just quit. You're not going to win this fight. You don't have anything to prove. And he said, yeah, I have to prove why I'm alive. Something like that. And it's like, oh my gosh. When he said that, it's like, now I get his whole motivation throughout the movie is that, he feels like he's a mistake. He shouldn't be there. And he wants to prove his worth, that he wasn't a mistake, that, he has worth in life. Anyways, it's just, oh, what a heart-wrenching moment where you're like, oh, I feel so much for this character. And then at the end, he accepts the creed, and he accepts that, says, what would your father think? And he says, well, I hope he'd be proud. Oh gosh, what a great moment. It just makes you so emotional over this character. And yeah, I can't say enough. Love Creed. What a great idea for revitalizing this franchise. Anyways, one of my favorite franchises of all time. Anyway, so yeah, Creed at number 8. Well, speaking of Rocky, guess what we got at number 7? We have the original Rocky movie. Yeah, so I have Rocky and Creed back to back. I love these movies so much, Rocky and Creed. Creed is almost like has a lot of elements that are kind of similar to Rocky, I guess, in some senses. Um, and the story is so good there. But man, the visual Rocky, always been one of my favorite movies of all time. Love this movie growing up. I remember seeing this for the first time as a kid. My dad was a big fan of this movie, so I remember, I'm sure he saw it in the movie theater, when he was younger. And so I remember my dad showing me this movie for the first time, and I was just like, man, I love this movie. And yeah, it's always been it's been in my top 10 forever kind of movie. But yeah, man, what a great underdog story. What a great character. Love the Rocky character just because he's nice to everybody. He's funny. He's got a great sense of humor, and he's just a good person overall. And you just gotta love him for that. He goes out his way to help people. He's just a most likable character you've ever seen, and he's funny. That makes it. And I love his relationship with and I'm forgetting names. Gosh, what's her name? Sorry, I'm blanking right now. But anyways, I'm talking about Adrian. Adrian, love his relationship with Adrian. Adrian's this very quiet, mousy kind of looking, doesn't really do herself up to look attractive, and not someone you would really notice, but Rocky falls in love with Adrian, and he so much wants her to like him, and he's trying to do everything he can to, break the ice, and, he talks to her and goes to the shop to see her, and she kind of likes him, but she's real shy. She's super, super shy. And I love the romance. It's such a great romance of him taking her out to the ice rink, whatever, and then back to his house, and then they have that real romantic kiss, though he does kind of push it a little too much. It's like today, it's like, Rocky, maybe back off a little bit, but still, it's romantic because, they end up becoming a couple, and they're in love, and when he wins or at the very end, at the end of the fight, he doesn't think about whether he won or lost. All he thinks about is Adrian. He says, Adrian, just such a famous scene of Adrian. And they're like, Rocky, what do you think about the fight? Adrian. All he cares about is Adrian. He doesn't care about the fight. He just cares because he loves Adrian so much. Oh, love that about the character. Love all he does for her. So much great acting. I mean, of course, this won Best Picture, Best Director for John Avildsen. Should have won Best Actor for Stallone. He got nominated. It's crazy he didn't win. I mean, such a great performance. by him. Also, Talia Shire got nominated for playing Adrian. Burt Young got nominated for playing the brother, Adrian's brother. Carl Weathers, man, is so good in this movie. The late Carl Weathers just passed away, I think, this last year. Man, what a great performance as Apollo Creed. Great. He's kind of the villain character, but he's not a terrible person. He's not mean. He's not a jerk. But he's a great boxer that's in the way of, and it's not about winning a championship. It's just about going the distance, doing something that no one thought you could do, and not giving up. That's what it's about. Everybody not believing you can do it, and you believe in yourself. About also Burgess Meredith. I want to talk about Burgess Meredith as Mickey. What an incredible performance. Should have won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. I think he got nominated, I believe. But man, what an iconic character. Just that. Oh, why don't you train him? This. Come on, Rocky. I don't know, he has this great voice. And it's like they have so much animosity. Like one of my favorite scenes of the movie is when he gets a chance to fight Apollo, and Mickey goes to his apartment, and they really don't have much of a relationship at all, except he runs like this boxing, a gym that Rocky goes to, and he even kicks him out of his own locker. Oh, that's my locker for every years. You're a leg breaker. All this. And he goes to his house, and he's like, I want to be your manager. You need a boxing, manager or whatever, or you're not going to go very far. And he's like, why now? Why didn't you come? I need you then. You weren't there. And he goes into the whole thing. And, he's like, man, you're coming to me now, right? I needed you back then. You never helped me. And, and then you see Mickey walking out of the apartment down the stairs. You can still hear Rocky, ranting about, what about me? What about my shot? Get my head caved in. He's, knowing that he's in trouble. He's not good enough for this fight. He's going to be humiliated. He knows he's got so much. And what I love about the character of Rocky, he's supposed to be this tough boxer guy, but he shows so much vulnerability. He knows, like, man, I'm in trouble here. I can't do this by myself. Eventually he makes up with Mickey and says, yeah, you can manage me, because I know I can't do it on my own. I'm not in this guy's league, and he's the champ of the world. I'm just this, small town boxer in Philadelphia. Of course, iconic scene of him running up the stairs, drinking the egg yolk. Great training montage, great song, I think You're Gonna Fly Now. Dun, 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 whatever. I believe that's in the song in this movie. I get mixed up with the movies, but yeah, great score for the movie. I'm forgetting who did the score, but really good score to the movie. But yeah, I love that. Love that they actually become buddy. I mean, they kind of really care about each other. They hate each other at the beginning, but then during the movie, they actually grow quite fond of each other. Mickey and another great relationship between Rocky and Mickey. Love that. And again, Burgess Meredith, he just created one of the most iconic characters of all time. I mean, he should have won an Oscar. It is such a good performance. But yeah, obviously the last boxing fight is amazing. He has no chance, yet he keeps getting up. He even knocks Apollo down. We're like, what? Apollo got knocked down? Like, this bum just knocked down the greatest boxer. Of course, you have the hitting the meat, him in the meat locker, punching the meat, iconic. There's just so many iconic. I was thinking about his vulnerability, because I love, like, there's scenes like where he acts like, oh, like, Apollo's kind of making fun of you, and he's like, oh, don't bother me. And then later on goes, when I said it didn't bother me, I lied, saying, yeah, it does bother me. I'm trying to be tough, but the truth is, this stuff bothers me. I, again, love the vulnerability of the Rocky character. Such a great performance by Sylvester Stallone. I can go on and on. I know I'm going on too long about this, but man, do I love Rocky. So much heart into this movie. It's got comedy, it's got drama, it's got romance. Just a great, great story. So, and people know I talk about Rocky quite a bit on the channel probably, but Rocky at number 7. So last movie I'll talk about on this stream, or on this video, is my number 6 favorite movie, and that is Avengers Endgame. Yeah. If you notice my list, I have a lot of Marvel movies. I'm a big fan of the MCU before this, before it kind of ended with this, and then after this movie, it kind of went downhill, and we haven't seen really a lot of good, except for No Way Home and like Deadpool and Wolverine have been the best stuff that they've done lately. But man, just incredible that this is like the grand epic finale of the greatest, longest franchise of all time. I mean, starting with Iron Man, they built this idea of we're going to build this whole universe of these Marvel characters, and there's going to be all these superhero characters, and they're going to live in the same universe. They're going to interact with each other. They're going to appear in each other's movies. It's just when that idea came about, it was like, we can do this. I didn't know this was possible. Like, it was just a dream come true. Like, as a fan of superhero movies, like I've been always a fan of superhero movies. Favorite, fan of these kind of comic book superheroes, and the idea that we're going to make all these different characters and bring them together is just like, how are we going to do this? How are they going to do it? Man, do they do it with this? And this kind of was the end. It's the end game of the basically the Infinity Stone Gauntlet storyline with Thanos as the main villain. This is where it all comes to an end. And so they really need to do, because they've built it up. They built this up to be like, okay, we got to really deliver. And there's a chance that they could have disappointed. If they had a bad movie here, been like, oh man, they just killed the franchise. But they didn't. They put out one of the greatest movies of all time. I saw this movie twice in the theater, and man, goosebumps when I was watching this movie. Again, all those characters. I mean, you got the Iron Man, the Captain Americas, the Thor, Hulk, Ant-Man, just so many great characters coming together. And it was a cool, time travel story to begin the movie. Most of the movies like this cool time travel, which was also pretty nice. And I mean, just so many, again, great action sequences. It's very funny. There's some great comedic scenes. There's some very dramatic moments that make, I mean, I cried like 4 or 5 times watching this movie, which I remember a time thinking, I'm crying at a Marvel movie? Like, I never cried at a Marvel movie. And I'm like, man, that's people say, oh, these superhero movies, they're not real cinema. And it's like, I don't know, I cried. That's cinema to me. If you made me emotionally involved, that I'm crying at fake characters that are made up, written on a page, you did your job. You made me care. You made me feel. And that's why I watch movies. I love that feeling of caring about characters and having these feelings of emotions when I'm watching a movie, and I go, wow, it just really brings out this, you feel like you're alive, you're either laughing or you're crying or you're, whatever. And this does that. But yeah, so many great storylines to go through in this movie. But it really comes down to that very final scene, which is one of the most incredible scenes I've ever seen in a movie. And to be honest, this is maybe the greatest, I would say the greatest moment I've ever had going to a movie theater. I saw it opening weekend, of course, in IMAX with a full crowd. And, and you get to that final battle and you're like, wow, Thanos is going to destroy everybody. Like, how are we going to defeat? It seems like they're lost. How are they going to defeat Thanos? And then that moment when you're on your left and all of a sudden all these portals open and all the characters from all the movies come through the portals, and we're playing that great Alvin Silvestri score, dun 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 dun, dun. That incredible score as they're all coming through, and you're just like, oh my gosh, it's everything I've ever wanted. All these characters coming in, because they have this huge Thanos army they have to fight, and that scene where the camera pans down all the heroes, and we get in that score, and then it gets to Captain America, who catches Thor's hammer, and there's Avengers, and he catches the hammer and assemble. Bum 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 bum, and they're running towards the bad guys, and they're all. It's, I mean, to me, one of the most incredible fight scenes, battle scenes ever filmed. And they go at it, and everybody has their own time. We see all these different superheroes, do cool things, fight this, fight that, and it's going all over this battlefield, and we're trying to get to Thanos. We're trying to make sure he doesn't get the gauntlet with the Infinity Stones, or he's going to snap his finger and everybody's going to go away. So you're trying to stop that. And even this, Captain Marvel comes in and saves the day at one point. And oh my gosh, it's just, I remember when that happened, I had goosebumps. And every time I see that scene, I get goosebumps. Like, oh my God, it's like this, it's just like the greatest moment of all time. Grace, and it's like that first time, it's like, I wish I could have that first time again. Because I remember the first time it happened and just going, wow, this is like the most incredible feeling. Again, that's why I love movies. When you get those incredible feelings of watching a movie and going, oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting this to happen. I didn't know I can get these kind of feelings. It's just overjoyed feeling, just this feeling of overjoyed over what's going on the screen, just nothing like it. Whoops, I'm knocking things over. Just nothing like it when you get to that, in a movie theater. And again, what Iron Man does to get the gauntlet, and that final scene of, I'm inedible, I'm Iron Man, and then Iron Man snaps his fingers, and again, I'm spoiling the movie, I'm sorry, but he wins the day. But then we get that scene with Iron Man, we all know what happens, and oh my gosh, I bawled my eyes out. Oh my gosh, I love you 3000. Oh my gosh, but bawled my eyes out. We have the funeral scene at the end, we see all the different characters. Amazing work there again. Just a great combination of all these great movies together, finally coming to an end. And I remember I was in the theater crying, and I could hear other people crying. I'm like, I'm not alone. We're all crying. We're all sad. It's just, oh my gosh, an incredible feeling. And when it was over, you're just like, oh my gosh, like I just saw one of the greatest movies of all time, one of the greatest moments in my life, it feels like. Like am I ever gonna have this kind of feeling again in the movie theater? I don't know. It's like, this is just once in a lifetime opportunity, or in my, I'm so glad I got to see this in theater. But yeah, absolutely incredible finality to the saga, the Infinity Stones. And man, I don't think they could have done any better. They just totally nailed it. And like I said, it's funny, it's sad, it's got great action, it's got everything I want in a movie, I guess. And that's why it's here at number 6 on my list. So yeah, so those are 5 more movies, my top 100 favorite movies. We're now down to my top 5 favorite movies of all time. Again, feel free to comment. What do you think about these 5 movies? Are you a fan? Are they anywhere on your list? And try to guess, what is my top 5? Anybody have any ideas? Love to hear your ideas of what you think is in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. And I'm excited to get to that. Like I'm excited to get to these movies. Love talking about my favorite movies. And so happy to do that for you guys. Hope you're enjoying this. And just thank you to everybody watching this video. Thank you for watching this series. Really appreciate it. Thank you for the comments, and just thank you for the likes. Really helps my channel out. And just thank you to all of my subscribers, 338 I believe at the moment. Really appreciate all you guys subscribing to the channel and watching it. I can't tell you how much I appreciate coming on here and talking about my opinion and people listening to me. It's such a great feeling. So anyways, besides that, hope everybody has a great rest of the day, and I'll see you later.